Thank you, Chairperson, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all. As you are aware, for next about 10 or 15 minutes or so, I intend to speak on technology for efficient hospital management. So firstly, let me clarify that what is the scope of this session. By technology, it's a vast term. It means so many things, basically application of scientific principles and theory into useful applications and solutions. So in hospital context or in healthcare context, it could mean biomedical equipment or devices, or it could be ICT applications for achieving efficiency and cost containment, improving quality, and it could also be applied for efficient facility management, say for having intelligent building systems or maybe water management or air conditioning and so on and so forth, say sewage treatment plant. All these things involve technology. So it's a very vast term embracing a lot of things. And when we talk about efficiency, technology not only brings in efficiency but also effectiveness and better clinical outcomes in healthcare. But when we talk about efficiency, it means that how we are getting more output with less resources. Could be man, material, money, time or manpower. So how we are able to leverage technology and bring about efficiencies or tackle inefficiencies in hospital and healthcare system. That is the point, that is the topic that I shall be clarifying upon for next few minutes. Now, use of technology has been mandated by WHO also for achieving Millennium Development Goals. It states that in cooperation with the private sector, make available the benefits of new technologies, especially information and communication. So ICT are the most powerful of the technologies which can enhance operational efficiency in a hospital. So not talking about its applications in public health, which is equally important, that is the provision of safe drinking water and sanitary toilets and vector control, we shall be confining mostly to hospital setup. So as you are aware, the technology has been advancing exponentially, and most of the fields like aviation or finance, they are at the cutting edge of the technology. But social sectors like healthcare and education have been laggards in adoption of technology for whatever reasons. There are multiple factors, some of those we discussed in the previous session as well. So this is a Roger Everett's model of innovation and technology. So on one side there's a plot for the innovation, the level of innovation, and on the x-axis it's the pace of adoption. So we find that technology figures somewhere, the healthcare figures somewhere here, that is early majority, late majority or laggard, but it is never an innovator. It's never been healthcare has never been an early adopter of technology. So there are a lot of barriers and hesitation in adoption of technology in healthcare, particularly IT technologies, because that involves a cultural change of mindset on the part of the physicians. But the way things are evolving, if we have to make mainstream healthcare, bring it at par with other sectors, we have to perform, we have to adopt technology, but not for the sake of technology, for achieving better clinical and healthcare outcomes and achieving efficiencies. So we have to transform, perform, reform, perform, or else we could perish. So if you aren't fast enough today, you could be a food, you could lag behind. If one chain of hospitals is more nimble or more agile and the other hospitals are not, they are conventional, so they may lack in competition. There is a competition in healthcare as well. So with this perspective, we will also be crystal gazing at the future, how these factors like technology, political, social environment, regulatory norms are going to shape the hospital of the future. So delivering hospitals and health services of the future, where healthcare is lagging or where your organization is positioned, it could be at the cutting edge as an innovator, or it could be a laggard. So as I told you, healthcare is mostly a laggard or late adopter. Whichever way you look at it, if you're not convinced, then the inadequate budgetary allocations, they are far less than any other sector, and the various practical problems like interoperability issues or the lack of regulatory norms or standards, they all impede adoption of technology. But if we have to grow, the healthcare has to be made affordable, or it has to make our operations more efficient, which is the talk of the topic. Then there are three driving forces which are going to shape the things to come in the healthcare sector. First is the political or regulatory norms. Second, most important, which is the topic of the day, is the technology, particularly the new technologies which are coming up, the molecular medicine, genetics, or regenerative medicine, that is the stem cell culture. And the third factor which is shaping our healthcare delivery model is the epidemiological changes or demographic changes or the changes in the disease pattern of the population, which we are all too familiar with. So technology is becoming quite pervasive, and today morning in the inaugural session we heard IT Minister of the state saying that what ABC stand for today, the child, and how he associates with these alphabets. So the point is that it's become so pervasive. So he had his own definition of H being Hyderabad, so no qualms about it. So for each alphabet, there's an infant will have some association, and it's becoming a part of a younger generation's lexicon. So to give you one snapshot how technology is not only an enabler, but also a differentiator, and it's a strategy today, how it has revolutionized the worldwide delivery of healthcare. How it does it is in following few ways. Firstly, it enables us to deliver quality healthcare with positive clinical outcomes. This is the single most important factor for any clinician. Cost containment. It also makes healthcare affordable. Though initially the cost may go up, but then when the hospital-acquired infections are reduced, or when the medical records are available anywhere, anytime, and over-investigations, redundant investigations are avoided, so certainly the costs are contained. It helps us achieve operational efficiency. So the main thing, what we are talking about is the efficiency by reducing turnaround times. Like laboratory results, if they take 4 or 5 days to come, now they are on physician's desktop. Within 2 hours, 3 hours, due to bidirectional interfacing with the laboratory information systems. So it streamlines our workflows, makes inventory management more efficient by use of RFID technology. It reduces workload, medication errors, space requirement for, say, huge medical records, paper-based medical records that might be required to be maintained. Faster access to patient medical records, anytime, anywhere, by the authorized physician. It enables us to achieve seamless, paperless, and filmless environment across the continuum of healthcare spectrum. Say patient is referred from a primary healthcare to a secondary healthcare and to tertiary healthcare, or from one specialist to another. If his records are digitized, that will achieve great efficiency. So even in middle of night, if an old lady comes with the attack of dyspnea, it will be very much possible to make out that it's a cardiac dyspnea or it's a bronchial asthma attack. And to top it all, it leaves behind an audit trail. So one knows that who's accountable for what, where the medication errors have occurred or where the lapses have occurred. So one of the modalities, technologies which has been being adopted and has been discussed in the previous session is mobile phones. So they improve accessibility and efficiency in healthcare. So let's take example of voice-based applications which have, now the mobile has become so ubiquitous, it's penetrated 800 million subscribers, we just learned. So it helps us in tackling inefficiency in service provision by improving communication and interface. For example, missed appointments can be avoided. Compliance to treatments like tuberculosis, where it's intermittent anti-tuberculosis therapy under the revised National Tuberculosis Program, and compliance in chronic diseases like diabetes is very important for the success of the treatment. Due dates for immunization. So all those things can be achieved. Say if you have to contact blood donors, very simple and a basic application of mobile phones. Improved self-management and monitoring of the patients, providing psychological support, counseling to the distressed people, maybe the teenagers who want some advice on sexual health and privacy, increasing the ability of some inaccessible groups. And 3G, if you add the 3G enabled mobile systems, then the utilization, the users will be immense in transmitting the ECG clippings and in DICOM format, the radiological images, and physicians, are so well equipped, armed with the PDAs and iPads that most of the information can be conveyed at the point of care to the patient wherever he is through these information and communication technologies. So we also heard about telemedicine in previous session, which is an important treatment modality that how it can be used to reach out to the periphery. So it helps in elimination of barriers, can directly reach out to the patient to educate or for prevention and administration. So the cost is 1/7 of the OPD visit. It can avoid white coat hypertension. The people who when it come to doctors, they become tensed and their BP goes up. It can reduce emergency visits, and it provides universal access. So there's no technology. Good thing about it is that it doesn't discriminate on basis of caste, creed, or color. So anybody can use, just as ATM can be used by anybody, so can the telemedicine. Allows home-based care. The trend is moving towards the domiciliary care. So there's a reduced cost and prevention of hospital-acquired infections. So how all these treatment modalities, the networks, the information and communication technologies are going to shape the hospitals of the future. So the future hospitals will be flexible, modular, expandable, designed to adjust to the evolving needs of the patient. They will be eco-friendly, barrier-free, and they will provide universal access to anybody of extremes of age as well as to the physically challenged population. Most importantly, they will be boundaryless hospitals. With the improved ICT technologies, we'll be able to deliver the health care to the patient's home. Imagine a bed or a mattress which has got sensors which transmits, or some wearable devices the patient has got on his body, through which he can transmit the data directly to the hospital server and then on to the mobile device with the doctor, the care provider. So with these kind of technologies, the domiciliary care will become a big thing or a distinct possibility, and it is already there in some parts of the world. So the focus with adoption of technology will shift from inpatient to day care. So hospitals will be the last resort for the patient. Most of the diseases will be manageable in the OPD, and those who can't be managed in OPD will be managed through the daycare surgeries or ambulatory care. So there will be shift to high technology, short stay, high dependency care. Lab services focus will be on gene mapping, so that diseases can be prevented and predicted rather than managed after their manifestation. So that most of the tests will be available at point of care. Similarly, with technological adoption, the surgical modalities will undergo a change. There will be non-invasive procedures. Already we are using minimally invasive surgery. Then we have moved on to nodes. Even the natural orifices are used for the incision. Then we are into the era of transplant surgery and robotic assisted surgery, where there's a minimum blood loss and maximum dexterity. The arms of the robo are precise and they can reach to the deepest part of the organ and achieve very high success rates. And the government hospitals may lag behind in adoption of technology, but as we heard, the Tamil Nadu state health systems, the hospitals are going to be connected up to the community level or at the even primary healthcare level, and they will move forward in adoption of technology through public-private partnership or through outsourcing. So ICT, which is the most important pillar of technology, will shape the hospitals in shifting the focus from the physician-centric hospitals to the patient-centric hospitals. So when we say the patient-centric technology means IT solutions that can deliver relevant patient data or imaging information from all types of applications to improve the quality of diagnosis and treatment. Patients will want to manage their own healthcare experience. So now patient is not just a passive recipient of healthcare, he is a co-configurer in the delivery of healthcare. He is an equal partner in the delivery of healthcare. So that is the enabling power of the technology. So IT systems will need to support greater patient access to records, appointment scheduling, and other tasks. Further on, mapping of the human genome creates entirely new era for healthcare. With the availability of appropriate technological tools, the focus will shift from curative to preventative care, and from standardized to personalized care. So by personalized care, we mean that we'll be able to render care to the patient depending upon his genetic profile and depending how the drugs are metabolized and which drug will be most effective on that patient. So this will be possible in terms of IT solutions. It will be possible to collect data and create predictive models that take into account not just historical results, but also each individual's family history. This will enable prevention and treatment plans that address the specific needs of each individual instead of generic protocols that are used today. So if we have an overview of the technological trends that are emerging and that will be beneficial to the care providers and the healthcare systems, one is Health 3, which is analogous to the Web 3, wherein the customized information from all stakeholders, they're connected and customized information is provided to the end user. So we already seen the trends towards mobility, convergence, and portability. So one reason is that why telemedicine is underutilized is that the doctor needs to come back to the telemedicine center. They are so busy, consultants. So if we provide it on their desktop or their mobiles, PDAs, or on their smartphones, the connectivity, so they will be on the move or at the point of care, they will be able to provide consultation. Data analytics, as you are aware, is another big thing. We have a lot of data, but that is not being processed. That is with information technology tools or quantitative analysis, we can get behind the numbers and we can find out information that makes the hospital more efficient. We can analyze data to promote best practices. And not only that, we can, as a business, we can make smarter decisions. That is the power of data analytics, like it is used in other fields. So in medicine, we can, with larger data, we can find out what are the disease trends or patterns, what are the permutation and combination of systems can lead to what kind of underlying pathology, so on and so forth. So cloud computing, virtualization, all these modalities are going to reduce the cost of the systems to affordable levels. Even a small street level physician will be able to use EMRs by cloud computing because the IT infrastructure can be provisioned and deprovisioned on the need basis. He doesn't need to own the system. So unified communication, which is not much spoken about many people, is another IT tool through which all stakeholders can be connected through various devices and they can be activated. Care providers can be activated at a short notice. They say there's a myocardial infarction or a blue code or emergency of any other kind. They can be contacted immediately and they can be mobilized to the OT or ICU. So green IT is another emerging trend. So the vision is of a connected healthcare and with the use of technology where not only the one department within a hospital is connected with another department, but one hospital is also connected with another hospital. And there's a sharing of information that has to happen. So maybe a private corporate hospital A may not be willing to, as of now, share their data with the B. But eventually the consumer is the king. If it's in his interest, it has to happen sooner than later. And the patients are connected, the pharmacies are connected, and the biomedical research is connected. Now, you see the technology has been developing so fast and so rapidly that there's a risk of obsolescence, the functionally becoming obsolete, and then need for rapid upgradation. But this upgradation should not be as a marketing tool. If a 1.5 Tesla MRI is sufficient for a hospital, then it doesn't need to upgrade it to 3 Tesla. Similarly, the CT scans have evolved from 4-slice CT scans in 1991 to 256 CT scans. And this just goes about to show the pace at which the medical technology is accelerating. So this has led to the increased cost of healthcare. But the point is that when we are spending in other sectors, why not to save lives for improved diagnosis? Say an individual is willing to spend, say, any amount on his mobile or for his outing. So similarly, healthcare, the human lives and the longevity is so precious that the CT scans you see have evolved to 320 slices. Cath labs have become hybridized, flat panel, biplanar, and their cost has increased commensurately. Similarly, the computers have become very powerful, they have become miniaturized, and they have ultra-fast processors, and now the cost has not increased. The good part is that today the Akash tablet can be purchased for less than 4,000 rupees, and the costs are coming down progressively. So this is how the technologies got smaller and more affordable, portable, where the 1 GB RAM size in 70s was so big and how small it is now. And similarly, the kind of mobiles we used about a decade ago, from SMS text-based messages to multimedia services. Now, looking at the medical devices, also there have been a boom. There's been a lot of indigenization. We are moving towards a well-organized and regulated sector, though there's a lot more to be done in terms of development or device management regulatory authority. So there's acquisition plans going on. Government has is trying to put up a proper regulatory framework. DCGI is also becoming proactive in the device management, and how all these things, all these factors are going to change the nature of healthcare delivery. Say in 50s or 60s, if the care was predominantly critical, or it was theaters and through the diagnostics in emergency and accident systems, and another large part of it was for women and child health, that has gradually reduced. Now it's mostly for laboratory and molecular medicine, so that tests can predict that what are the risk prognostication for an individual. There's advanced imaging available which improves the accuracy of diagnosis. So most of the focus has shifted towards cardiac care, emergency and trauma, and whereas the other services have reduced with improvement in other healthcare indicators. So with adoption of technology, now the pyramid of healthcare, what is maybe now was until recently, will become reverse. The home care will be much more possible because it offers distinct advantages in terms of reducing cost, reducing hospital-acquired infections, and the shorter length of stay. A lot of follow-up can be done through sensors, telemedicine, or other remote sensing technology. So the tertiary care will be least, readmissions will be least, because preventative care will help us to reduce admissions and readmissions, the focus moving towards the chronic diseases. So this is kind of the vision for the future healthcare delivery models. Now, I am not for technology for the sake of technology or for marketing gimmicks, which sometimes are resorted to by the hospitals. The point is that there should be proper techno-economic appraisal of any technology prior to its adoption. So this kind of matrix, where we evaluate the cost of technology with its impact on it. This is very straightforward, and other techniques like return on investment and the life saved and the quality adjusted life years, they enable us to take a well-informed decision that such and such technology is worth adopting in a resource-poor country or not. So this is the article I published in EMRs, like it's an odyssey, it's a journey which we are taking, but it's worth taking because at the end of the journey, there are going to be a lot of gains and improvement in the delivery of healthcare. So how a digital hospital, if you, this in this article I've described in e-health, like a patient enters the hospital till he is discharged, how at various touch points the technology helps him. See, the moment a patient enters today, there will be a situation, or there is a situation already in cutting edge hospitals, where he is identified through RFID technology. His EMRs can be retrieved within few seconds, and once he is admitted, it's known that what drugs he is allergic to through his EMRs, or what diseases he is, what other drug interactions he is prone to. And when he is admitted in ICU, his clinical parameters are being monitored, and there's a trend which we are observing. Are they increasing, or they decreasing, they worsening or improving? And then there's a system of alarms and alerts. We know that beyond this level. So some of the data is stored in the biomedical devices also about the patient. So here we see that the hospital information systems are integrated with the biomedical equipment and devices. So, and say when he goes to laboratory, through bidirectional interfacing with the medical laboratory equipment, we are able to prevent misidentification or pre-analytic errors or post-analytic errors. And I'd say with the radiological information system, we can track the reports, view them immediately in a DICOM format, and so on and so forth. And when he's discharged, his discharge summary is generated. Overall, the benefit, one immense benefit of technology, which is not much appreciated, is the average length of stay will reduce. So once the average length of stay reduces, we can treat larger number of patients on the same number of beds. So bed strength is scarce resource in India. So once we are able to achieve that, though it may take us decades to reach that WHO stipulated norms of bed strength to the population ratio, but we'll be able to manage with those fine. So my vision of the future is that our doctors are armed with some of these cutting edge gadgets and gizmos. So if everything is so good about technology, then what's wrong with it? There are certain flip sides also. So as the technology evolves, men tend to become a little sedentary. So this could be the side effect. And some of my friends in cities like Hyderabad and Bangalore, they become so addictive with technology that they forget to take their own care. So my conclusion is that technology, it can cure some of the problems which are afflicting the healthcare, though healthcare is complex. It enables treatment to be more effective, less expensive and risky, and achieve better outcomes. So with standardized protocols and technology, the lesser skilled care providers can also give care. So nurses can also give care if they're properly trained. Healthcare organizations can make strategic choices of technology products, processes, and services and remain competitive. So the digitization will contribute to reduction in average length of stay, will reduce medical errors, increase in number of patients treated in the hospital, that is bed turnover interval will improve, thereby also increasing the profitability. Technology has made the delivery of healthcare more efficient and effective, accessible and safer across the care continuum for both patients and providers. And it has proved to be a game changer. So our attitude should be that in a liberal environment, let thousands ideas of science and technology bloom if we have to become a scientific superpower. And let these be translated into innovative ventures by our medical entrepreneurs. So my inspiration is drawn from this movie. Never try to be successful, seek excellence, and success will follow you. Thank you. So I have finished. I have tried to give you a brief overview that how technology can be a game changer, or if it's applied in the right measure and the right technology, how it can help us achieve efficiencies and improve quality of healthcare as well as also contain the cost. And thanks a lot, Chairman, sir.